But it looks like the African economy really is in takeoff mode. The development literature, the economic development community has not really, I think, caught up with changes on the ground, but things are really moving fast, and we see it anecdotally in oil. We see a lot of strength in oil demand in African countries, not just in oil, but also in electricity, in gas, in pretty much every type of energy. And we try to make some adjustments for that, but again, we can't really produce our own economic forecast for Africa, so we still rely on the IMF, but we use a little bit more of a stronger intensity factor energy intensity factor for African economies as they enter this takeoff period, which I think we can explain. I think a lot has to do with not only the strength of Chinese demand for commodities, but also the revolution of the cell phone. Africa has a higher cell phone penetration rate in the world, and this really, I think, is having an impact on the economy.
Great, thanks. I'd love to come back to that and talk more about what's going to happen in Africa and what some of the barriers might be. But next question, please.
Thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. I have a question on Africa and a question on North America. With regard to Africa, Ghana and Israel were not present on your charts or in your discussion. With regard to Ghana, about 5 years ago, I guess it was, there was a big hullabaloo, supposedly a very large oil strike offshore, and then it suddenly dropped out of, there was U.S. investment, Chinese investment, State Department was all up in arms of the Chinese investment, and then it dropped out of sight and not on your chart. Can you explain what happened there? Will that ever be a factor in the future? With regard to Israel, that is real. Is that simply not within the 5-year time frame or not within the capacity? With regard to North America and the oil sands, the capacity in North America, I presume that's predominantly Canadian, if not exclusively Canadian. And are the IEA's predictions on the contribution of the oil sands without regard to how it's transported, the Keystone Pipeline or trains or whatever? And what relation, in one of your responses to Jason's question, you said there's not really a sufficient market for sweet crude from Canada. What relation does that have to the oil sands movement?
Right. So let me start with Ghana. Ghana is producing, and it's producing enough that month-to-month changes in production in Ghana can make a difference in the market. For instance, this month we had a big increase in non-OPEC supply in October compared to September. And one of the factors was a restart in Ghana of production that had been off for maintenance. So it is on the map. It is on the map. But generally speaking, I think we see a little bit slower growth